We'll kick it off. Okay, hello and welcome and good morning. My name is Marla Carlson and I'm president of Organic Connections. On behalf of the board, I welcome you to the Conference and Trade Show. It's so good to be in person again after a 4-year break. I'm looking forward to reconnecting with old friends, making some new ones, and learning lots from the fantastic lineup of speakers and from each and every one of you. Saskatoon is situated on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis, a traditional meeting ground, gathering place, and traveling route for Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, Nakota Sioux. This land is sacred. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries in past, and the imprints we'll make together going forward. As we reaffirm our relationships with one another and commit to building strong, lasting partnerships, we acknowledge the contributions past and present of the First Nations and Métis of this place. We give thanks for our opportunity to thrive on these traditional lands. And with that, it is my honor to introduce Lyndon Linklater. Lyndon is a member of the Thunderchild Cree Nation and is one of Saskatoon's knowledge keepers. Lyndon works with organizations throughout Saskatchewan as a bridge to reconciliation and is the Indigenous Relations team member at the Remé Modern. Welcome, Lyndon, and thank you for sharing a blessing.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm very honored to have been asked to come and open up your conference with a blessing, and I'd like to share a message with you too. I was offered some tobacco, which is thousands and thousands of years old tradition in our culture. When tobacco is involved, there's always 3 parties. The party offering it, the party accepting it, and the third party is our Creator. So it's a spiritual commitment when you accept tobacco. And when tobacco's involved, it's like God is with us. So it was done in a very traditional way from our cultural perspective. So I thank Marla and the organizers for offering me the tobacco. I just was driving here this morning, and I was just thinking to myself, you know, how times are changing, like in a good way. You never really used to hear these land acknowledgements wherever you went. Now they're very common, hockey games, football games, you know, conferences, meetings. And it's a result of a change in our country that we're going through. We call it truth and reconciliation. And it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. And so I was happy to know that I'm going to come and do the opening blessing and to share this message. And as part of your conference, you know, from a cultural perspective, I want to share some teachings, I'll call them, with you, and you know, to share a message as well. And I was thinking about our cultures. You know, as Indigenous peoples, we have a really different culture in terms of this dominant culture that we all live in. Some differences, for example, in our traditional culture, we never used money. Money did not exist in our culture. But in this dominant culture, like, we need money to buy food, to have a place to stay, to go places, to do things, you know, to stay in a hotel, you know, and this very cultural difference there. And to expand on that a bit, last week I was at a ceremony and I was listening to our elders pray in the language. And in the language, they prayed for this concept in our language. It's called Wapstagwaniwin. And when you translate Wapstagwaniwin, it means white hair. So these people were praying for white hair. In our dominant culture, we got this thing called Grecian formula and Clairol. Is a very different cultural difference. In our traditional culture, we value our old people. They are our libraries. They are our history, databases. They are full of wisdom and knowledge, and we aspire to be like them, and like I'm kind of exaggerating a bit here, but in our dominant culture, it's like we don't want to get old. We don't want to. We got this thing called Botox, and the old goat. You're kind of offensive, But anyways, it's just a cultural difference. Again, another cultural difference is in our traditional culture, how we live for thousands and thousands of years. We live in harmony with nature. Like we live in harmony. In the dominant culture, this culture that we all share, and it's like almost the opposite in some sense. Like we control the environment. So we'll create pesticides, we'll create chemicals to control the environment. In some ways, from a scientific perspective, some ways it's good to control the environment. But sometimes we can go overboard too. And so, I don't know, I was just sitting thinking to myself, this message I wanted to share. I support your conference and the intent to grow organically. Like it's better, in the sense of what we're putting in our bodies. It's better for the people. Another teaching principle in our culture, it's called the 7 generations. Whenever we do something of a great decision, we think about how it's going to impact the generations 7 times. When it's a great big decision. And so I'm guessing you'll agree with me, it's better for us healthier wise as people, what we're eating and what you're doing with the land. So in some ways you're kind of thinking indigenous, if that makes sense. So I thank you for that. So that's the message I wanted to share. And as part of, again, thousands of years old traditions from the First Nations perspective, in our culture, whenever we meet, whenever we gather amongst each other, we always start off with an acknowledgement to our Creator, to our Great Spirit, the one responsible for creating the earth and the sun and the animals and the plants and us. That's our way. And so that's what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to say a blessing in my language, my mother's language. And what the blessing will translate to in English is to give thanks for another day of life, to ask for good health for all of us, as well as our families and our children and our grandchildren, for good things to come from this conference that you're holding, for good things to come from the learning that's going to be happening here. And to give thanks to the land for all which she provides for us. That's what I'm going to say in the language, and I'll finish off with a short little song. And what the song represents is a new day, a new beginning. When the sun rises, like we have a new day. And it's called the morning song. And the words kind of translate to wake up, the sun is rising, it's early in the morning, even the birds are starting to sing. And when the sun travels across the sky, how it makes our land look so beautiful. That's the translation of the song I'll sing. So again, I thank you for the tobacco, Marla, and I wish you all well on your conference. Have a good conference, meet lots. And I'll just say my little blessing, and I'll sing a song, and I'll be off on my way. And I'm going to listen to Mayor Clark. Anyways, I'll pray along if you like in your own way. Hagagisimuttat numa kiksip imam skuttamanuga haisinoa. Ananaskutien kakkiukivainutska kissiga kimigustik. Hakisimanto pisuihtamuujak ugi haisinoak. Kui ask miuhpaiakigoi imam muptik. Ja kun minun vitsi kui ask miuhtiihjuen miupamatsun ksittamahtaan. Ha minä ugussako tanssak. Tuossa simsak japana kakki oissina kuitsihjaa kui as miuhtiihjuen. Ksittamahtaan. Kista min gauinaaneski suihtamuja kakki kui as miuhpaiak. Ma muppien ugi haisinoak. Haaksittamahtaan, tamagihtuuk, kahtamagino, kakki joo. There we go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lyndon.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Lyndon, for sharing with us, and my heart is full. All right, next up, Mayor Charlie Clark. Thank you so much for being here. Charlie Clark was re-elected Mayor of Saskatoon in 2020 for a second term. His mandate to build a strong economic future where no one is left behind. Charlie is realizing his mandate by fostering innovative partnerships that build solutions to keep people safe, keep people working, and strive to make Saskatoon the most livable mid-sized city in Canada. So welcome, Mayor Clark.
Thanks so much, Marla, and welcome everybody back for the first time you've had the Organics Connections Conference in 4 years. I know it's exciting and important to get back together and be able to meet and share your experiences. 4 years is, I'm sure, a lot has happened in each of your worlds, whether you're a producer or in the industry in some way. And I know how important this conference is for the work you do. And so congratulations and thank you for organizing and bringing this event together. I was really happy to see Lyndon here when I arrived, and the words you shared, Lyndon, to help start us off in a good way as we're gathered on Treaty 6 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis. Lyndon is actually working with me and mayors from across the country. I've been asked by the Big City Mayors Caucus and the Canadian Big City Mayors Caucus to try and help work on a path of reconciliation for cities. And we've invited Lyndon and Harry Lafond from here to actually be the guides for that. And it's been a very good experience. And Lyndon, I know, takes very seriously the work of working between our two worlds of the Indigenous ways of thinking and the non-Indigenous ways of thinking. And as he said, you know, in the work of organic production and in this understanding of how do we actually grow food, produce the food that we need to nourish our lives, but do it in a way that we know we're going to leave a planet for the next 7 generations. I was looking at the posters and the pictures of the people who've been the pioneers, the builders, the legends of this work since the 70s and the 60s, from Elmer Laird on, and that has been the goal. I know that has been the mission and the work, and it carries on to this day. And we know as the cropland that we have in this province is some of the best cropland in the world to produce food, where we know there's increasing demands and needs for us to be able to produce good, healthy food for our own province and for the world. There's a responsibility to figure out and learn and continue to understand how to do that in the best way that leaves that a healthy, sustainable cropland and plant it for the generations to come. And so I think there is alignment between these Indigenous teachings and the work you're doing, and as we learn together how to build that, there's, I think, tremendous opportunity. And so thank you. I know that organics have always felt secondary to the conventional farming, which is such a huge dominant part of the way farming happens in our province. And I also understand and have learned and had a chance to get to know parts of the organics sector and the work that you're doing, and how important it is to keep learning, keep growing, keep expanding the reach of organic production for all the reasons that we just talked about. And it can be hard work, and you're still at the mercy of weather. I know some producers who had a couple of tough years out west of the city here. I've heard of other producers who've had great years. I hope on your farms, as you get ready for the year ahead, that you may have the rains you need to produce the food you want to feed families in our province and beyond. And I hope today and through the course of this conference, you have very productive discussions with each other, and you continue to nurture each other and build each other up, and be able to keep growing this industry in our province. Thanks very much. Have an awesome conference. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mayor Clark. We really appreciate you being here and your message, and thank you again to Lyndon. We have one more greeting, and then we're going to get on to the first presentation. Minister Marit, Minister of Agriculture for Saskatchewan, wasn't able to be here in person, but he has sent a video message for the conference. And I'll just read a brief bio before we show the video. So on August 15th, 2018, David was appointed Minister of Agriculture and Minister responsible for Saskatchewan Crop Insurance Corporation. He was an active producer all his life until 2019 and is still a current landowner. David began serving on RM Council in 1993, and in 1999 was elected to SARM Board of Directors in Division 2. He would also go on to serve as SARM President from 2006 to 2014 until winning the nomination for the Saskatchewan Party. So I will ask our tech people to play the video, please.
Hi, I'm David Marit, Minister of Agriculture for the province of Saskatchewan. I want to thank you for inviting me here to your conference on Organic Connection 2022. It's a great privilege for me to be here and speak on behalf of the government of Saskatchewan. The organic industry in this province is a big part of agriculture here in the province of Saskatchewan. We have well over 1 million acres of organic acres here in the province of Saskatchewan. We account for almost a third of the total organic acres in this country. And in Western Canada, we are about 50%. So that tells you that it's a thriving industry and it's a growing industry. And I want to take this opportunity, obviously, to thank the organizers for hosting this conference, but also bringing the public awareness of what the organic industry means to the ag sector here in the province of Saskatchewan.
Minister Marit from afar. So that was great. So thank you again to all of our welcomes and greeters. We really appreciate you being here and honoring the organic sector along with us.